Hey you guys, and welcome back. It's been a long while since I've been able to record a new video. Lots of things have changed since then. I just thought, you know what, in the summer they come back on track. Everything is back in its place, and then of course we have this saying in German where we say, like, firstly it comes different and secondly than you think. And of course that's just what's happened. So I've got the news within like 2 days that I had to move house, so I wasted a whole month going around seeing places in Albanian time. And here it's very much like you have an appointment at like 11:30 to go see a place. The person doesn't turn up till 12. And so the whole day kind of like drags out. And then I had moved and I was just settling in again when I got the news that my dad passed away. So I packed my stuff yet again, went back home for a few months, and I've only just come back here some time ago and settled in again. And then the earthquake hit, and of course we had to move house yet again. So the last 6 months have just been so all over the place. I had absolutely no capacity left in my head to get anything done beyond the work that had to get done, but so far so good. Everything's kind of calmed down again. So I'll do a proper full update on everything in a separate video, but I had some notes that I took literally when I was in Germany still, so I wanted to run through those. So today what I want to talk about is something I get a lot of questions on now, and that's living in Albania as an expat. So I wanted to share some of my thoughts about my entire experience so far. So I broke it down. I like to, use big mind maps. So I broke it all down into different categories, and I'll just kind of go through them and share sort of what I thought. So I'll talk about kind of impressions when I first arrived, the general sort of weather, society, language, housing, downsides that I've experienced, food, cost of living, and all of that stuff. So this might be a little bit of a longer video, but I really hope that if you're considering Albania as an expat, that you're going to find this quite helpful. So when I first arrived, it was January, and I noticed immediately the kind of thick smell of wood hanging in the air. At first I thought something was burning, and then I realized that lots of people still use wood for heating, and that's why the smell is kind of particularly potent in winter. Super small airport in Tirana. It's like, it's one of those where you get off the plane into the building. There's like 2 people checking passports, 2 luggage belts, and then you're kind of outside on the other side. That's actually really convenient. The downside with that is that there isn't an awful lot of flights leaving. So a lot of times you have to take flights via Istanbul, Vienna, and other places to go and change to get to where you actually want to go. So that's something to bear in mind. But other than that, passport control is quick, security is quick. It's very easy to sort of travel through. Within a few minutes, my Airbnb host had kindly arranged me a taxi to come and pick me up at the airport, and I found him very quickly. And I immediately noticed the downside of the language barrier, because that guy absolutely spoke no English whatsoever. The next thing that I noticed on my way into town was the absolutely atrocious driving, particularly in roundabouts and at junctions. I'm now used to it and fairly comfortable with driving here, but it did take some time to understand like how people operate on the road and then do as they do, because otherwise you're kind of causing more chaos and confusion. I arrived at night, so obviously my kind of impressions were super limited. I was almost overwhelmed by the amount of blocks of flats everywhere. How densely populated the place is in such a small area, all of the little back streets. Traffic was insane even in the evenings. There was like a massive traffic jam in town. I think the whole center was just like one big traffic jam. It's a big one-way system, so it can get really packed. And the other thing that I noticed immediately was kind of the ample coffee bar places. Like, it's like every third shop is basically a coffee bar sort of type thing. So those were the things that really stood out to me in the first night and in the first day. Alongside something that's worth mentioning, and that's the bathroom plumbing in the old flats. So I stayed in an Airbnb in an older place, and yeah, you start noticing signs above the toilets to like not put toilet paper down the toilet because it will legit block your toilet pipes. So that's something that I've noticed as being different. Okay, so as far as the weather goes, continental European weather, I would say, you do experience 4 seasons. So I arrived in winter and it's about the same time of year now. It is usually around, 9 degrees in the daytime, maybe 15 on a good day. But then at night you have kind of 0 degrees, -1. It won't usually snow in Tirana in town anyways, but we had some snow earlier up in the mountains, which is kind of the first snow that I've seen this year, and I don't think it's going to stick around here. In the more higher up areas that you reach very, very quickly when you go driving, like if you go towards Kosovo, you will need snow chains because the snow hits fast and it comes as a big surprise. We took a trip last year to Montenegro and we got snowed in on top of a mountain, and it was kind of a bit of a dodgy kind of drive to do. In spring, it's going to get up to like 20, 25 degrees very quickly and then consistently stay there and rain a lot for about 2 months or so. Summer, then it's like the flip. The switch is kind of flipped over. The flip is switched. That's like our joke at home. The switch has been flipped and suddenly you hit like 34 degrees, then 38, then 40 in August. So it does get very hot, very dry. The sun shines every single day, not a cloud in the sky. For weeks on end, and it's very, very, very hot outside. Most places though have aircon, so if you're indoors, like I work from home, so I don't really have to go anywhere. It's pretty bearable. You just put the aircon on, and the job's done. Autumn has been very consistent, fairly warm, also mid-20s Celsius. That is. I don't do Fahrenheit. And then the odd day of rain, but mostly it's been pretty decent. So overall, I think they get like more than 300 days of sunshine a year. So the weather is pretty freaking amazing overall. I do have to say something that I still haven't gotten used to is the weird daytime hours. So I found that even in the summer, it gets dark here very early in comparison to Germany. So in Germany, often the sun won't set till just before 10 p.m. and then at 11, it's kind of starting to get completely dark. I think here in the summer, I'm pretty sure that like by 9 p.m. it's completely pitch black, if I remember correctly. So even in June, I figured that it was dark very, 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 very early in comparison to what I'm used to anyways. All right, let me take a drink. I've got an awful cold. That's why I sound like super funny, but it wasn't going to stop me today. So from a society perspective, that was my next category. There are so many weird rumors about this place. And I don't know if it's from all the kind of movies and the whole mafia stories and drug cartels and shit like that. There's no doubt that I believe that a lot of people here are involved in dealing drugs, but actually all of those seem to go abroad. So I have to say that I feel extremely safe here. So people here, this is a very traditional society. I don't see people, out late at night in the streets. I have seen very few people getting drunk and throwing up like you'll see in most other kind of Western countries, not even on a Friday or a Saturday night. I haven't seen a single person look as though they're doing drugs or selling drugs. And I've seen like everything in Frankfurt and London. It's been pretty bad. And here, I haven't seen like any of it. The people in the street are all local people. They all know each other. Mostly older ladies doing their shopping, groups of young people walking around, going to grab coffee. So it's all pretty standard, actually. So I can't say that this is a place where I don't feel safe. From a religious perspective, the majority religion here should be Muslims. The thing is, people here are not very outwardly religious. So I think they're religious behind closed doors, but in the streets, I wouldn't be able to tell what the majority religion is. And I can't say that the place feels very religious to me. What it is though, and there's no going around that, it's a patriarchal society, and that's very, very, very obvious. So there are lots of bars that are like more local places, and there's just men sitting in there. We've been to the shop so many times, and I've given the cashier the money, and if he's a guy, he'll give the change back to the man. He won't give the change back to me. It's like little differences like that I find super odd. You learn very quickly that that can be used to your advantage. So if you've got really heavy stuff to carry, there's no shortage of people actually offering their help because, you know, they got the muscle power, you don't. So I guess there's ways to make use of it. In general, that doesn't really affect me very much though, because I'm not in the kind of local game. I tend to keep myself to myself and just live my life in my way. So yeah, I can't say that I've had super like negative experiences or somebody being rude or anything like that. I guess it's just different for foreigners. And if you meet up with expats, then they very much operate like anyone that you know. Generally, I found people very friendly and interested. They can never believe that you would come to live here, particularly not if you're German, because they're totally in love with Germany and they're like, why would you come to this place? So it seems very much like everyone here is actually like, if they could, they would be planning to leave. They would not be sticking around here. So they're very interested in what brought you here. Yeah, I have lots of communication, like lots of conversations, not communications, with people in shops that do speak a little bit of English. You know, they're asking where you're from and what you're doing there, and then you ask them, and then it turns out they've been abroad, and it's super, super interesting. Like, there's so many interesting people to talk to. Yeah, overall, there's a decent expat community. There's some people that are here on short-term work contracts, and there's other people that have settled here longer term. So overall, pretty balanced. There's things to do. There's English-speaking people to meet up with. So while it's a bit more traditional than I'm used to, it's no bother as far as I'm concerned. The thing that is a little bit of a bother is the language. So generally, you learn to communicate very well by pointing, waving, showing numbers, and, you know, that's about it. It's incomparable to any other language I've ever learned, and I did do a lot of languages in school to a pretty high level. So I would say in the center, I have found quite a few shops where people do speak English, but it's more the traditional things that you might need. So if you're going to the butcher's, or you're in a small kind of local shop and there's an older person working in there, no chance with English, like absolutely none at all. And that can make it a bit difficult. So if you're wanting to go and buy meat, it's very difficult to explain to them what it is that you want. So it might be worth like writing it down beforehand, or getting somebody to write it down for you and then just giving them the piece of paper. I've done that. So generally, if you need help and you ask somebody for help, even if they don't speak English, they will just try and find you somebody that speaks English. And that's been super, super, super helpful. If you're wanting to learn Albanian, check out Learn Albanian online. Elson's videos are probably the best ones I've seen. I'll link in the description over to his channel. That's helped me an awful lot to get started, but there is still a long, long, long way to go. I can understand people fairly well now if they speak slowly and clearly, but yeah, communicating more complex things is very, very, very difficult. Housing, flats here vary a lot. There are some that are older, they don't have elevators, the water pressure can be absolutely atrocious, and then you have the dodgy pipe work kind of to deal with. So you put any kind of food waste goes down the pipe and your kitchen sink is blocked, kind of thing. Hang on. But then there's also lots of new housing being built, and those places are very modern, very well insulated. And I have to say the standard of housing is way better than what I've experienced in the UK. 2-bedroom flats in the centre you can get for around 400 to 600 euros, depending on your standards. So it's all pretty decent. The majority of places have aircon, which you use for cooling in the summer and heating in the winter, which also is not helping my throat because I had the heating on and it makes the air a little bit dry. So not so good when you have a cold, I guess. Internet overall is very, very, very fast, which is important for us working online, and the prices are pretty good. So I think the high-end package with Digicom is like around 30 euros a month or something for like super freaking fast internet. It's like, I think it's 100 meg down. So yeah, nothing in the UK or in Germany compares to the quality that you get for the price that you pay. Electricity is super freaking cheap. They rely on, I think, 100% renewable energy, a lot of it from water. So we pay very, very, very little. Like for 2 people, I think we've paid around 40 euros a month, and that's been with the aircon on like all day in the summer. Water is also not very expensive. I think, again, we paid around 20 euros a month. It depends, obviously, how often you run the dishwasher, the washing machine, that kind of stuff. But if you're being a bit mindful of what you're using, I think your bills will definitely run into less than 100 euros a month, which is freaking amazing. The food. I find eating out is super cheap. If you're buying local groceries, like particularly fruits and vegetables that are like locally grown, they are also super freaking cheap, and everything here is organic. So the downside is that you have to go to the shop a little bit more often, because obviously those vegetables, they haven't been treated in the same way as you might be used to in the supermarket in the UK. I don't actually know what they put on the food, but the stuff here, it tastes a bajillion times better. And like when you're buying the potatoes, they're not super the same size and washed and whatever. They are literally, they look like they've been taken out of the ground. There's big like globs of soil on them. They're all wonky. Nobody cares. They're potatoes. Like they don't get measured before they get put in a bag to put them in the supermarket, basically. All of the tangerines still have the big stalks on them and the big leaves. They just chuck them out in a big pile, and you just take whatever you want. Foreign fruit, though, that is not grown here is very, very, very expensive. I think like a 250 gram thing of blueberries, I saw it the other day for like 5,000 lek, which is like 40 something euros. A pineapple, I think we paid nearly 2,000 lek for a pineapple. So if you're buying anything that isn't grown here, or if you're buying any products in the supermarket, like shampoo and things that's been imported, you can often pay way, 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 way more, because I think they're paying extra taxes for that stuff. So yeah, buy local stuff if you want to shop cheap. Yeah, money is another story. So they use lek. 1,000 lek is just under 10 euros, basically. The thing is, there was a change in the currency. So sometimes you'll go to the shop and you'll buy something, and let's say it costs 100. Actually, there's some money lying here on the table I can actually show you. So this is what the 1,000 lek looks like. I can't see the video on the screen, so I don't actually know if this is in focus or not. Here are 500 that are lying around. So you have all these notes. The thing is, if you're buying something that, for example, costs 500 in the shop, they'll tell you it's 5,000 because there was a change to the currency at some point. So a lot of people still tell you the price in old lek, not in new lek. So it can be very confusing when you first get there and you're buying something small and they're like 1,000, but they mean it's 100. So that's something you have to bear in mind. This is a cash economy. Like, I had to pay my entire deposit, first month rent, and agency fee in cash. So always carry cash with you. The bigger shops, of course, accept MasterCard, Visa card, but the small places take cash only. If you're fussy about whether the businesses that you use pay tax, then you should always ask for a receipt. And on the receipt, it will actually, there is an entry on the receipt for tax. So if you're picky about that, then make sure that tax is actually listed on the receipt. And this is usually also just a problem in the smaller shops. But if you're fussy about it, then do ask, you know. Customer service is a bit hit and miss. I've had people that have been super helpful, like above and beyond, but in the majority of coffee bars and stuff like that, I found the service pretty rubbish. Like, you'll sit down, nobody will turn up to take any orders. Then you have to go find the person to go and tell them what it is that you want. Then you have to go look for them again when it comes to paying, because they're sitting inside and they, weren't really all that bothered. So it's not like what you'd be used to if you're going to Germany, for example, and you've ordered food, somebody will come to your table and ask you if everything's okay with your food. That has legit not once happened to me here. The food just comes and that's it, you're going to pay for it, whether it was okay or not. So there isn't the same kind of service nature that you get in other countries. I've also had random extra table charges in restaurants, or they give you bread that you didn't ask for and then charge you for it kind of thing. But that's pretty much, I would say, in a lot of places I've been to on holiday, I've had the same kind of situation. So I can't say that this is just, exclusive to here. So that's just something to be aware of. I always check my receipt. I always check my change. We once went out to drink cocktails and we ordered a Long Island, and obviously the Long Island contains the individual shots plus the Coke. And then we were charged extra for Coke mixers. And I'm like, why is that? Because it's part of the cocktail. I bought a cocktail that was already like very expensive. Why do I get charged extra for an ingredient of the cocktail? It wasn't extra, it was the bog standard part of it. And they're just like, well, that's just how it is. So those are just things where if that happens to me once in a place, I just don't go back there, end off. It's not worth having an argument about that. The other thing is paperwork and visa. So if you're from the US, you can stay for 1 year before you have to apply for residency. If you're from the EU or you have a residency permit from an EU country, then you can stay for 3 months before you have to apply for residency. Nobody in the visa place seems to want to speak English, so best bring somebody that can translate. It's very confusing, very badly organized, like any hot country, I have to say. And you're told different things by different people on different days. So you're going to get a list of paperwork that they want, and then you're going to bring that, and then it's not good enough. And then they're going to want you to bring something else, or maybe they're not even looking at half the things that you brought. Everything has to be translated and has to be notarized. So it's best if you go there with somebody that speaks the language and get as much as you can in writing and get the contact details of the person that you dealt with, and only go back on the days when that person is working there, because then you're speaking to the same person each and every single time and nobody's going to tell you something different. So those are my tips and first impressions. So overall, I think life is pretty relaxed here. So people love to hang out, meet friends, drink coffee, spend time outside, and just avash, take things very slowly. And that's something that I really enjoy. I felt life for the last few years has been very rushed, and actually taking a step back and just enjoying things more has been very, very good. If you like to have an extremely active life that involves doing loads of activities that you can go to, of course there's a cinema, of course there's shopping malls, but the entertainment factor is by no way as big as it is in other countries. You know, that there isn't a massive theatre landscape that's international. It's going to be difficult getting hold of English-speaking books locally. If you order online, then it's going to take some time to get that thing delivered, because the postal service is pretty slow. Some items never turn up. So that's just something to bear in mind. So if you're a very, very international, super active person that constantly needs to be out doing things that are like new and exciting, and nature isn't your thing and drinking coffee isn't your thing, then I'd say you might end up being a little bit bored in this place if you're used to London-style entertainment. However, if you love, just getting in the car, driving, going hiking, like the nature here, it's absolutely freaking stunning. Mountains, sea, lakes, it's freaking amazing. And there's so many beautiful places to see, so much amazing food to eat. And I think you can really be absolutely surprised if you come and spend some time here. Even if it's just a few months, maybe not over the hottest time if you do want to be outside a lot, because that can get very hot. But, maybe in the spring or in the autumn, that would be a good time to come visit if you're coming for a short period of time. If you like the kind of slower lifestyle, or if you get a good job offer here that pays you a good salary that's more than what local people can get, then you can be very relaxed living here. You'll meet some really interesting people. People that travel to Albania often meet up via couch surfing. And I've met people from all sorts of countries now, and it's really interesting what brings everyone here, and everyone is so positively surprised. So I'd say don't let the negative kind of rumors stop you from at least checking it out, and you never know, you might just totally fall in love with the place. It's a bit of a hidden gem, and I think you can have a really enjoyable life here. Maybe if it's not for you permanently, then at least for like a few months to a year if you're feeling like you're getting a little bit bored. But then again, I guess things are changing. People are being more interested in culture and having more cultural activities. There's more festivals in the center now than there ever used to be. So yeah, I have to say, even just in the last few months, a lot of things have improved in town when it comes to what's on offer. So that's all I have to say on it for now. I think that was pretty much all of the categories. I've probably forgotten something. But if you have any questions on Albania as an expat, then just ask. Like if you're considering to come here, just drop me a comment and let me know, and I'm happy to reply. Or should there turn out to be lots of comments at some point, then I do a V2 of this video and I'll just go into the questions one by one. Otherwise, I have some more content coming up. I was planning to have a separate channel to talk about these things, but I don't have the time for the editing, the branding, and to do all of the things that come with it. So I've just decided to reorganize this channel and just stick everything on here that I have to share. I've learned so much about myself these past few months, and I can't wait to pass some of those tips on to you. And yeah, otherwise, if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, just drop me a comment and ask, and I'll see you for the next one.